Hey folks, Brian here. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. So when I was a kid, there was this comedian named Grady Nutt, N-U-T-T. And he wasn't necessarily a comedian as much as he told funny stories. He actually was a Baptist preacher, but he was what you call a humorist. He would tell stories. He was on Hee Haw. But I remember him telling the story about being outside the church office and hearing this noise, this like doom, thump, doom, thump, and then this laughter. And it turned out that the church secretary had those plastic rubber diaper pants to go for the nursery. And she was supposed to be stamping them with the stamp that said like property of First Baptist Church. And instead she was stamping them for deposit only. And so he told things like that. And I remember him talking about being raised in church and always being in church. And so he had to learn to sin at church. And so that's kind of my story. I was in church all the time. So some of the things I don't even remember, but I've heard the stories of like when I was about two and a half. So this would have been like 1969. My parents' friend would get me out of the nursery after church, and he would carry me around, and he would say, "Go ahead, Brian, tell them." And he had taught me to say, "My mama and daddy beat me with a big board with nails in it." So you couldn't get away with that now. But again, this was many years ago. And then the story my mom always tells that I don't remember, but that when I was about 5, after service, everybody had come up around the altar for the benediction, and the pastor prayed, and when he said amen and everybody looked up, I had gone up and taken the candle down off the table and put it on the floor and was jumping back and forth across it saying, "Jack be nimble, Jack be quick." But then as I got older, I remember especially being in being like in junior high age, and I was a smart aleck. I would proofread the bulletin at church and then give it back to the secretary. I would mark the mistakes, spelling errors, punctuation, that kind of stuff. And then also we had a choir director at one time. Her husband, I sang in the choir. I was probably 14 by this time. And so we'd be sitting up in the choir loft behind the preacher. And the choir director's husband came to church. Let's just say, I think he was only there because his wife worked there. I don't think otherwise he would have gone to church. But he was a great singer too. And he sat beside me, and so he's probably late 20s. And we would be sitting there, and he was the kind, he could keep a straight face at anything, and I can't. And he would sit there, and he would, the preacher's talking, and we're right behind him. And this guy's name was Philip. He would go, well, I won't say what he said because it's not nice, but he would say something quietly that only I could hear. And he would call me a derogatory term, and I would start laughing like, and then he looks at me like, yeah, shut up, the preacher's talking. So that was interesting. And then I got him back one day because the choir was going to sing a special for the anthem. So the choir director stands there, and she does this for us to stand up. And right before that, I had stuck my foot over and stood on the end of his choir robe. So he started to stand up, and he got about halfway up and stopped. And so he fell back down. So anyway, that's just a few stories, just some lighthearted stuff, from growing up in church. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. And as always, stay salty, my friend.